This is one of the modules associated with the First Class Financial Group webinar training platform. Now, before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me okay. Michelle, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, great. This is one of the modules associated with the First Class Financial Group webinar. Just to let everybody know that for the duration of the webinar, I will have everyone's microphone muted. So if you do have any questions regarding the content, please write them down as we'll be having a Q&A session at the end. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Michael Lee, and my role is to help all First Class Financial Group franchisees develop and grow their franchises. So let's get started. Networking meetings are a low-cost marketing strategy, which is a great idea to add to your overall marketing mix. If you ask a range of business people what their opinion is on the effectiveness of networking, you'll get a varied response. Some people swear by the strategy, sometimes claim to have made the activity a lifeblood to their business, while others will scoff and say it's a waste of time. So why the difference of opinion? Well, it comes down to many factors. Some of these factors include the purpose of the networking group, the members within it, timing, rules, and the list goes on. However, one of the biggest factors is how well you are at making them work for you. A part of the challenge for many people when it comes to successfully networking is there are two areas that must be done consistently and well, but they don't tend to gel with one personality. The two areas are personal communication skills and excellent procedure following. Generally, people who are personable, social, talkative, and love to get to know people are not also disciplined and focused on procedure, follow-up, and systematic long-term contact. Successful networkers understand how to be personable and truly connect with people, as well as systematically follow up and contact people at appropriate times without getting distracted by the busyness of business. Now, this requires a system. Networking is potentially a very effective way of leveraging your business if you practice what you learn. When you start getting good results, you can start exploring the idea of training members of your team to do it on your business's behalf. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you with strategies for attending networking meetings, being able to approach a group of people that already know one another, and create follow-up processes as to build long-lasting relationships and to give everybody an understanding of these parameters and what they're used for. So during this event, we'll go through how to be more confident talking to people you do not know, the Jeff Kirkwood 5x5 networking process, and mastermind groups. What are they and how do they work? Apart from speaking in public, speaking to strangers is one of the biggest fears that most business owners have. Actually, I say business owners, but that fear extends to most people whether they have a business or not. So why is that? Why should speaking to people we don't know scare us so much? I personally think it comes down to insecurities, fear of rejection, and even what we were taught as children. It was probably meant well and good advice at the time, but can seriously hold back your business success if you apply it in networking meetings. So how can we overcome this? What can you say and do so that you feel comfortable attending a networking meeting and talking to people that you don't know and would like to start a relationship with? Well, it's important to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, your abilities, or your business, then clearly no one else will either. Ask yourself, why would someone not want to speak to me? One of the biggest causes of fear is what we say to ourselves. You know that little voice in your head that says things like, I bet they wouldn't be interested in what I have to say. Or maybe they have somebody already offering a service like mine, or my business is too small, maybe I'll wait until my business is a bit bigger. The first thing you can do is to listen to that little voice in your head, and when you hear you putting yourself down and being negative, change your thoughts, because if you change your thoughts, it'll change the way in which you will feel. If you change the way in which you will feel, you will change the way in which you will act. And if you change the way in which you act, then you will change the results that you will get. Make a decision right now to stop looking at others and thinking that they are luckier than you, and instead start making your own luck by changing that little voice in your head. Remember, other people have gone to a networking meeting to network. They expect you to approach them, they want to talk to you, and that is why they are there. There are three areas that affect the way we feel when we approach others. The first is proximity. By that I mean how close they are to us, because you know what it's like when somebody is in your personal space, which can be off-putting. The second is the attractiveness of someone else. If you feel that someone is too attractive or even too ugly, believe it or not, this can make you feel awkward approaching them. The third area is a positive one, and it's similarity. If we feel that someone is like us and has things in common, it makes it much easier to speak to them. Remember, when you attend a networking meeting, you don't necessarily have to talk about business. This can be a great way to break the ice and establish an area of common ground that can help start the relationship. It's important to not to prejudge, because we often, without realising, will make a decision about someone within the first few seconds by the way they look or their body language. So if you are prejudging others, you'll be missing out on potential contacts, relationships and business. One of the areas that people often prejudge at network meetings is whether the person that they are speaking to is in a position to give them business. What they don't know, however, is who that person knows, and so even if the person that they are speaking to can't or won't be a customer, it doesn't mean that speaking to them is a waste of time. How you prejudge someone else or how you are prejudged by others is in your control. Now, we were talking earlier about being confident when you're going to walk into a room with strangers. I've shared with you some ideas that you can do to help you mentally, but what can you do practically to comfortably walk into a room full of strangers? What should you say to them to break the ice, and how can you break into groups of people who know each other? The first step that we'll look at is how you can join a group of people who seem to know each other already. Now, if there are two people speaking next to each other, they probably know each other, whereas a larger group of, say, 3 or 4 people huddled together are less likely to. So I would recommend approaching the larger group rather than the 2 people. The easiest way is to go up to them and just stand in the group and wait for an appropriate break in the conversation where you can join in. Naturally, you wouldn't want to interrupt somebody who is already speaking. When you have the chance to speak, you could simply ask the question, "Do you mind if I join you?" When you are talking, be aware of those around you and avoid going into such minute detail with what you are saying so that people you are speaking to don't simply switch off. Now, you may spot someone else who looks uncomfortable about approaching a group and is standing on their own. Go and speak to them. It will be great relief for them and you'll quickly build rapport. Simply say hello, introduce yourself and ask questions about what they do and their business. Remember, people are more interested in themselves and you. The next step for attending networking meetings is to have a clear outcome of what you want to achieve. So let's have a look at how you can plan that. Networking meetings are about building relationships and gaining from those, often over a period of time. Before you attend one, it's important to know what you want from the meeting and what you can give. There are 2 types of people that attend these events. Let's call them hunters and farmers. The hunters are out for a quick gain, whereas the farmers are more interested in sowing the seeds now for a bigger long-term gain. The networking process that we highly recommend is the Jeff Kirkwood 5x5 networking process, and the best person to explain it is Jeff himself.
G'day, this is Jeff Kirkwood, and today I'm talking about networking, or more specifically, building better business relationships through networking. You know, I've been involved in networking for probably 20 years, and I've been involved in business for well over 40 years. And one of the things I've observed is that most people don't really understand the concept of networking. I see people at networking meetings who run around collecting business cards as if there's a prize at the end of the night, or at the end of the luncheon, or end of the breakfast, for the number of business cards collected. And yet, those same people will take them back to their office, they'll sit them on the desk for a week or 2, then they'll move them to the credenza where they'll collect dust, and after about a month, they'll probably file them in the round filing bin. What a waste that was. What I'd like to talk to you about and what I'd like to suggest to you is a plan to capitalise on your networking. You know, when I speak to business groups, and I do that in countries all around the world, most people will tell me they have a plan and a process for everything they do in their business. Well, almost everything. If I was to ask those same groups, what's the best way to build business, they will tell you networking. And yet when I ask them how many of them have a plan for their networking, very few will put their hands up. Now that simply doesn't make sense. So let me outline for you the plan that I use and that I know is successful. In fact, I built the world's biggest referral organisation in Australia simply using this plan. So firstly, when I go to a networking organisation, I will simply look at making 5 connections. That's all, 5. Doesn't matter how many people are there, but my connections will be meaningful connections with them. I'll spend 2 or 3 minutes, or maybe 5, engaging them in conversation, and I will ask them that fabulous 5-word question: how can I help you? My focus will be on them. Once I've spent a few minutes and engaged with them so they'll remember me, then I'll move on to the next person. Now that's my first step. Now either that evening or at the most the next day, I will send them a voicemail message. I use a program on my iPhone called Voice for Mail, and I will send them a personal message. G'day John, it was nice to meet you. Hello Sue, it was nice to meet you. And to their computer will come a message that says Jeff Kirkwood has a message for you, and there will be my voice playing for them. You know what most people do? They send them an email. Fabulous for conveying information, the most impersonal thing you can do for building a relationship. Then I'll get onto my send out card site and I'll send them a card. So within about 5 days, they've heard from me personally with all the intonation and inflection and warmth of my voice. Then they'll have a personalised card addressed to them. I know when they check their post office box which envelope they're going to open first. And it certainly won't be the window envelope, because we all know what they are. Then, about 7 days later, I will phone them. Now, in most cases, when people phone you after having met you at a networking meeting, what are they looking to do? They're looking to sell you something. Whereas my phone call is, hello John, hello Sue, did you get my card? And we're talking about something that connects with here, not with here. Inevitably, the reaction will be, yeah, Jeff, that was great. Thank you so much. So suddenly we have started to build a human-to-human connection. And that conversation will end with me suggesting that we get together for a coffee where we can talk about how we can support each other. Notice the change here. Now we're talking about how we can help each other. The focus isn't just on them. And at that coffee meeting, we'll split the time because I'm in control of it, and we'll find out how we can help each other. After that, I will send them another card saying thank you for their time. Do you think that I might just have an edge on my competition who the very next day sent them a cold, impersonal email? Well, of course, the obvious answer is yes. Why does this work? 1, because it's a set, step-by-step process that I follow all the time. 2, because I'm connecting with them at a human, at a heart level. I mean, just imagine the scenario. Think back, for some of you who are listening to this, to the first date you ever went on. It's a great date, you got on really well with the person you went out on the date with. So next morning you got on your computer and you sent them an email and said, hey, thanks for the date. Had a great time. Yeah, right, I can hear you laughing now. You just simply wouldn't do it. Yet there you're looking at building a relationship. Businesses are no different, where you're looking to build a relationship to the point where people are happy to buy from you and will approach you to buy your product or service, not feel like you've been sold to. So,
Okay, so let's revisit the 5 steps. Step 1, set the goal to make 5 connections. Step 2, send a personal message the next day. Step 3, mail or personal message 4 to 5 days later. Step 4, make a phone call 7 days later. And step 5, attend the meeting. Your Program 12 resource file, which is located on the First Class Financial Group intranet, contains copies of these guidelines and tracking forms. Now let me share with you another fantastic networking opportunity which most people don't think about. It's called masterminding. So what is it and how does it work? A mastermind group is a group of like-minded individuals that is set up not for profit but purely to help each other be more successful. The group might be 6 or 8 people in size, but generally not be much larger. The idea is to keep the group size manageable. So maybe once a month for a few hours, the group will meet in a pre-arranged and mutually convenient location. The cost of putting the meeting together will be split between each of the people attending. Now, to make this sort of meeting work, there must be complete trust, honesty, and confidentiality. Everything you do is to help others, not for personal gain, as that will come. So the format for the meeting is that there will normally be a chairperson who is running the meeting. This person will alternate each meeting, so different people have the chance. Each person will then spend a few minutes talking about what they have achieved since the last meeting, both in their personal and business lives. There could be a topic up for discussion such as how to get more clients, and each person in the group can then give input to the discussion with ideas that have worked for them. Each meeting, there will normally be someone who is selected to be in what we call the hot seat. This person will come to the meeting with a burning problem that they wish to fix. Once again, it could be personal or business. Each person, in turn, will ask probing questions to really understand the problem in detail and what actions have already been taken to try and fix it. When everybody fully understands the problem, you'll go around the table with each person putting forward a solution. The person in the hot seat will then be accountable to the group at the next meeting and discuss the action they have taken. Naturally, each person will have a chance to be in the hot seat at some point. So what are the guidelines? Well, to organise the group, 1. Find 6 like-minded people to be in the mastermind group. Carefully screen each potential member to check suitability with every member of the group. Research, select and arrange a suitable venue for the group. Get agreement from all members to equally contribute to cover expenses and facilitating the meetings. And get agreement for topics for discussion at the meetings. Now, while at the meeting, select a person to chair the meeting. Each member shares a 30-second update on what they choose. The chairperson leads a discussion on the agreed topic and gives each person an opportunity to contribute to the discussion. The person selected at the previous meeting for the hot seat informs the group of their challenge and what they have already done to try and resolve it. Members ask extensive questions of the person in the hot seat to fully understand what the challenge is, and the chairperson gives each member an opportunity to suggest a solution for the person in the hot seat. And then lastly, a new member is selected to be in the hot seat at the next meeting. And finally, at the following meeting, the person who was in the hot seat in the previous meeting informs the group of what suggestions from the previous meeting work best for their challenge and what action they have taken. Now, this step is extremely important to the development of the group, as it allows everyone to develop their thought process and be able to resolve challenges in different ways to what they might have done originally. The Program 12 resource file also contains a mastermind group meeting form that can be used as a template. Now, for the webinar overview session, we'll first have a quick quiz, so if everyone can have a pen and paper on hand as to write down your answers. And once completed, I'll open up everybody's microphones so you have an opportunity to ask any questions regarding the content. So question 1, how many connections should you aim to make at a networking meeting? Answer being 5. Question 2, how many days do you wait to mail a message to a potential new contact? Answer being 4 to 5 days later. Question 3, how many days should you wait to make your first follow-up phone call? Answer being 7 days later. Question 4, what is the ideal number of people for the mastermind group? Find 6 like-minded people for the group. Question 5, What is a simple question you can use to join a group who are already speaking? Answer, do you mind if I join you? And 6, is it easier to join in with a group of 2 people speaking or a group of 3 to 4 people speaking? Answer, being 3 to 4 or more. Now, as I said previously, I'm going to open up the microphones now. So if anybody's got any questions, we can have a Q&A session. Michelle, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. If you're trying to join a group at a networking meeting
Yes.
and there's about 4 or 5 of them and they're in a circle, how do you
Yes.
get into their circle if there's not really a space?
Well, the best thing you could do is just stand between a couple of them, like, just between 2, but just a little bit behind them. And by rights, the people in the group will acknowledge that you're there and normally create an opening for you.
Okay, thank you.
No worries at all. Does anybody else have any other questions? To finish off, just a reminder that this module is part of the First Class Financial Group training platform, which also comes with business support, meaning that you can contact me anytime regarding the development of your franchise. You'll see on the slide all of the contact details, and a recording of this webinar and a copy of this presentation can be located on the First Class Financial Group intranet. There's also a workbook, some audio and video files to further your understanding and development. Well, thank you to everybody for attending, and I hope you have found the content practical and informative. And remember, running any business is meant to be fun.